Good evening, everybody. Welcome to live streaming focused on disabled people. Just really want to encourage people to get their questions in as quickly as possible, because we are finding that people are running out of questions on these sessions. And so tonight, if we don't have questions by 15 minutes in, we will finish early, and we'll start to think about whether the live streaming is continuing to be a useful vehicle for people to be able to ask questions or not. So really encourage people to get their questions in early on in the session. So today we are exactly a week out from the new team starting in Mid Central. So really excited that in a week's time we will be having a pōwhiri to welcome the new connectors, Kai Tūhono, the new network builder, government liaisons, disability information people, funding coordinators, and it will start to feel really real. So we've had the two directors have now both been, Lorna and Marshall have been on board for 6 weeks, but it will start to feel like we're really gearing up when we have the new people arrive next Monday and we start on 5 weeks worth of induction. We're going to start with a question that came in last time, and Rachel, we're really sorry. It was one that got missed in amongst the questions. And Rachel says, I'm a mother of 2 daughters who are 6 and 17 and have been involved with supporting formally and informally other disabled parents for nearly 20 years. Here at Yes, we're developing a project to support disabled parents and service providers. Over the last 20 years, I've seen wonderful progress in attitudes and access for disabled parents, especially mothers with disabilities. Overseas, disabled parenting is recognised and supported in all areas of service and funding, including needs assessments, etc. Do you already have a parenting with disability lens to highlight the needs of this underrepresented group? I can definitely confirm that this is one of the big issues that came up in the co-design group. So we had there were 5 disabled people on the co-design group, and 2 of them were disabled parents with children, and one of them was a grandparent who had a disability. And so we had a lot of conversations about the challenges and issues around getting support for parenting. So that is something that we have been looking at, and particularly in terms of taking away the rules and restrictions around that in terms of funding. Just want to remind everybody, there's not a huge amount of extra funding, so it won't be about unlimited funding. It will be about people having the choice about what's important to them and what is their priority for support. So it's not necessarily that you'll get extra, but you'll be able to use it for the things that are most important to you. And that can be different types of support that you may not currently be able to do within the existing rules. So you might be able to find a different way that allows you to spread your funding further. And we're also looking at how we can invest early to support people to have better transitions, for example. Just a reminder for everybody to submit questions. You can either send it into stfeedback@moh.govt.nz, or you can comment on the right hand of the screen. Had an email before hand sent in from Harrison. Do we have to stick with the same connector for the whole time? So the answer to that is no. We really want people to work with somebody who works for them. So if you're working with a connector and actually it's just not gelling, they're not the right kind of person for you, there will be an opportunity to change connectors. Similarly, people's lives change and what they need changes over time, and there will be connectors who have more experience in terms of working with parents with young children with disabilities, and over time that might change to when the young person starts to take more of a leadership role in their own life and making their own decisions, they might want to work with somebody different. So we want, in both cases, that there is the opportunity for people to change connectors if it's actually not working for you. but also to have the ability to have the right person with the right skills at the right time for what you're doing. Just had an email in saying, "Hi team, this is from Michael. Is there any progress surrounding the discussions of family funded care for disabled people who choose to have family members to do their day-to-day care?" So family funded care and the policy settings around family funded care are outside the scope of the system transformation work. So what we are doing in terms of developing our processes and policy is to make sure that we can deliver on family funded care within the prototype, within the current policy settings. So there isn't the making changes to the eligibility, for example, for family funded care was outside the scope of system transformation. But what we are doing is where people are eligible for family funded care and want to take up that option, that is possible within the prototype. Just had a question from Mickey via email. What is the difference between personal funding and capability funding? So I think there is quite a lot of confusion about this. So at the moment we're seeking applications for the capability funds that are available for disabled people and whānau. So the capability fund is set up to have some money that is available at a regional level where people can make applications to provide some training or building skills for a group of disabled people or a group of family members. And that can be anything from a group of parents want to get together to talk about how they're going to support their young people to transition out of school, and it might be funding to enable them to meet together on a regular basis. It can be things for a leadership program for disabled people, or it could be about talking to young people with learning disabilities about sexuality, or it could be things like the SAFER kind of course that's available with people with learning disabilities to learn more about how to take opportunities but not be at risk in the community. So what do you need to put in place to make sure you're safe? So there can be a whole range of things where people want to build skills and groups of people want to build skills, and they can make an application to the capability fund. So there's one fund that's available for disabled people and one that's available for families or whānau. Then we have a personal budget, and that is people working with or without a connector to think about what they want to do in their life. What are they interested in? What are their strengths? How do they want to build on those strengths? What are their goals? What do they want to achieve? And what kind of support do they need to get there? And then that working through the support is, what are the options that are available to you in the community? What are the options where you need funding to be able to put that in place? And putting that together to take to the funding coordinator to look at being able to fund that support. And so when people talk about personal funding versus capability funding, I think they're talking about the amount that people can have in a personal budget for their own disability support, which can include building their own individual skills versus applying to a fund for building the skills of a group of people, and that can be for disabled people or whānau. Had an email from Kiri. If we live in the mid-central and want to be involved with the new system, who should we contact? So at this stage, we don't have anybody there to answer the phones and we're still building the website. So over the next month, we'll be starting to send information out to people about who they can contact from the 1st of October. And on that, we'll have information about where we're going to be in the community in terms of the different hub locations and when we will be there. We'll have information about the website, information about the 0800 number, and that will tell people from the 1st of October who they can contact if they want to talk to us about making changes to their support or wanting to engage with the connector. Just had an email from Eli. Just heard you talk about capability funding. Is there a limit to how much people can apply for in the capability building funding? So there isn't a limit on how much people can apply for, but there is a set amount within the fund. So we will be making decisions on that and trying to allocate that as much as possible across the community. So if we have a few big applications, then that will reduce the amount that's available for other people, and we will need to make the decision across a range of applications. Just had a comment saying, when is the Cabinet paper regarding financial decisions due to release to people outside of the leadership groups? So the Cabinet papers are still just going through the Cabinet process, and once that has finished, we will then need to translate them into different formats, and at this stage I cannot confirm when that will be publicly released, but it will be, they will be publicly released sometime before the 1st of October. Just a reminder to people, if they can get their questions in and comments. We're 11 minutes in, and just a reminder that we would really appreciate if people got their questions in early. Just had a question from Lucy. What training are the connectors getting? So what we have is a 5-week induction program, some of which is done with all of the staff from across the 2 teams within the prototype or the transform system, Mana Whakaha. And so there'll be things that all staff are getting. So what's the vision and principles for enabling good lives? There'll be, what are we trying to achieve here? What's going to be the try, learn and adjust approach? How do we all contribute to that? Understanding the business processes and the funding and how that works. So there's training where everyone is getting it together. Things like what's our treaty framework and what does that mean for how we work with Māori. So there's a range of different things also that's going to the whole group. Things like understanding other cultures, including deaf culture, how people communicate differently. So we've disability rights, human rights framework. So there are 3 weeks worth of things where everybody's coming together, and then there's 2 weeks of individual role-specific induction, and in that induction the connectors will be focusing on how do they work with disabled people and families, and how they support them to think about what they want out of their lives, learning about different ways of supporting people to do that, how they can build relationships with what are the community options, what are the different ways that you can help people to create something quite innovative and differently, how does the funding process work, what do connectors need to do in it. So there's a whole range of things that will be part of the connector specific induction. Just had a comment, how can I get part-time paid employment? I've tried everything. So that is one of the things that for somebody working with a connector, that might be one of the things that is one of their goals and that they want to work on, and a connector can support them to think about what are the different things they can do. It sounds like you have tried to do a lot of different things, but it's worthwhile. Connectors have relationships in the community, and it can also help connect you into support from work and income around employment, including supported employment, for example. So that might be the sort of thing that you might want to work with a connector on and come up with a plan around trying different things to get into part-time paid employment. Just a reminder that if people can get in their questions in, I've just had a question from Greg. What will the Network Builder do? Will they work with my disabled son to build his friends group? So the Network Builder role is sort of focuses on three different things. So first, they're the ones who collate the information about what's available in the community. So the community options, and support connectors to have access to that information. So connectors will be finding out about different options in the community and feeding that into the Network Builder, and they will have all of that information together so that everybody across the connector group can learn about it. The Network Builder will be the ones who has the relationships with the peer networks, so whether it's a disabled persons group or a family whānau network, and will be able to make sure that the information is up to date about what kind of groups are out there. So that's whether it's a face-to-face group, a social media group, and to be able to understand who the contact is, when the group meets, what are the sorts of things they do, and to try and sort of be able to match people to groups. But also the Network Builder will be somebody who is an expert in that, how do you build networks or circles of support, safeguarding and supported decision making, and so be there as a resource for the connectors. But the connectors will be working with disabled people and families, and if one of the goals is to build relationships and to have friends, that's one of the things that the connector can work with your son to look at how to build his network, but have the support of the Network Builder in the background to help connect up to different community options, but also into different networks. I've just had an email from Justine via email. When will the changes come to Taranaki? So at this stage, no decisions have been made about the next steps or expanding beyond the Mid-Central prototype. So what we're doing is putting this in place in Mid-Central from the 1st of October, and in late 2020 we will be going back to ministers with advice about what the next steps are beyond Mid-Central. And so at this stage I can't answer about the timeframes for that. I understand there's lots of comments about employment, and that seems to be something that people are really interested in. That's the sort of thing that people might want to put together an application for the Disabled Persons Capability Fund, because that's the sort of thing that actually may be getting together a group of people who are trying to find employment and need support for that. So that is something that we could look at. Also, just thinking about that is something that the connectors will be able to work with people from the 1st of October. I've just had a question from Roseanne. Can people outside the Mid-Central region apply for the capability funding if the capabilities will be in the Mid-Central region? So no, the capability fund is for Mid-Central region. However, if someone can apply who has a particular program or training that they think would be really useful for disabled people and families in Mid-Central, but they need to be connected up to either a disabled person-led group or a family-led group within Mid-Central region. So just encouraging people, we've got 10 minutes to go. I've got a question from Jenny. Will we still be able to choose where our children go for respite? So absolutely, there will be more flexibility around how you use funding for taking a break. So what we're really wanting is to give people an opportunity to think about different things. What does taking a break look like for you and the person so in terms of wanting to make sure that both parties, so whether it's the disabled person or the family member, actually both get to do some fun things and have a break through whatever they choose to do to take a break. So I think sometimes we can be limited in terms of our thinking about respite because of the options that have been there in the past. And really what we're looking for is what is something that enables you to take a break and to start thinking about that could look really, really different to what it is now. So for example, it might be that it's about supporting a disabled person to go and attend an activity so that the rest of the family can do something else at that time. You're only limited by your creativity in the new system around how you use your funding to achieve that. Thanks for your questions. Just a reminder, we've got a whānau session on Thursday, this Thursday the 23rd at 6:30. We have had the information up on the website around these live streaming sessions for the last week or so, but we also find that actually it's useful just to post them on the day again, and that's when people tend to share the information, but just a heads up that there will be a session on Thursday at 6:30. Once again, we have found that the number of questions have been starting to drop off, so it is something that we would really appreciate your feedback about whether you'd like us to continue doing these live streaming sessions or whether you think that it's now time to try something else. So really look forward to feedback on that. So with 8 minutes to go, get in your questions. You can either send them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz or you can just fill out the on the side of the page. Hopefully you've all received the letter that was sent out to anybody who's accessing disability support in Mid Central. So we've sent a letter out to people and there will be another letter in the next month just so that people know on the 1st of October who to contact, and that will include things like the website, the 0800 number, information about the hubs. And just a reminder that nothing has to change on the 1st of October unless you want it to. So we seem to be running out of questions and comments, giving people one last minute to get something in. Otherwise we might wind it up. In Wellington, we're very much enjoying it is Wellington on a plate time. So we're all trying to get in as many burgers as we possibly can. This is a phenomenon that unfortunately other people may not be enjoying the same way that we have in Wellington, but it is something that I really recommend making a visit to Wellington at this time of year. It's a lot of fun. So just, I have just had a comment from Lauren, my trusty sidekick on this, who has said, you know, we need the burgers to make up for the weather in Wellington, and all of you tend to have slightly better fortune on that. However, this was the best summer ever in Wellington, so we have actually had a pretty good year. So I think that looks like we might be finishing. Just waiting to see. If you come up with any other questions, you can email us, so please send them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz and we'll try and get an answer back to you as quickly as possible. Also, we've got the whānau session later on in the week. The stream will be posted later so that you can go back and watch things from the beginning if you missed the start. So thank you very much, everybody.